So right now we're taking a look at the date inspector. The date inspector is showing all of the records in the system, and it's sorted by date. Right now we're going to look at the 4th of June. Let's go ahead and expand the table. Notice I can expand and contract the table. Same thing with the graph. I can expand and contract the graph. We'll expand the graph out. You do not have to view a graph and a table at the same time. You can, you don't have to. It's up to you. In this case, we'll view just a graph for a moment. Right now we're looking at a memory graph, but we can easily point and click and switch to the fit score graph. This is the fit consumption. This is the how much resources the users or machines are consuming. And now we're looking at a user experience score. This is the UX score rating for the selected users or machines. And let's switch over to the CPU queue graph. So this is the CPU queue for the selected users or machines. And again, in this case, it's all the users we're looking at because we're looking at everything by date right now. So we're on the CPU queue graph, and if we wanted to, we could view a number of other predefined graphs, as I had said. Let's go ahead and look at these interactive graphs. On the top left, I can choose different sort bys, which will display the data sorted in a different manner from low to high. I can view the top 50 or the bottom 50 of the CPU queue graph. Now today we show 50 maximum on a graph and 100 records on a table. So if you're looking at a table and a graph, you can view the top 50 of that table or the bottom 50 of that table. And so let's go ahead and hover the items on the graph. You'll see on the top, bottom left rather of the graph, the item that you're hovering is displayed in detail, so you can get an idea exactly what the metric is that you're hovering. And if you hover, as you see, and scroll to the right, that data just keeps changing with each entry. When you see filter by, that means that your next click you will be drilling into, for instance, the 1600 hour. So now you're seeing the information underneath the 4 o'clock hour that was returned for the 4 o'clock hour for all the records in the system. And if I drill into the 4 o'clock hour, you will see multiple records that have been returned within the 4 o'clock hour, and you can make a decision if there is a specific time slot within the 4 o'clock hour that you'd like more information on. And so again, by hovering the points on the graph, you can see the data in the bottom left, and then by clicking, you are drilling down in the graph. So this is a completely interactive graph. Beneath the graph, you see breadcrumbs. The breadcrumbs show you how far you've drilled down in the graph. If you want to take one of these graphs and you want to put it into a presentation, you want to more closely match that presentation, you can simply change the color of the graph. When you're done with getting the color that you want for either better visibility on your screen or for a presentation, you simply right-click that graph, copy, and paste it into your Excel or Word documentation. Again, you do not have to use the back buttons in the browser. You can simply click inside the graph or click inside the breadcrumbs. So the breadcrumbs will allow you to go up and down through the graph and the tables that you're viewing, and the graph itself, again, is interactive, so you can drill down and go further within the data set. Now, notice again, we are showing on a graph 50. On a table, we show 100 records. On a graph, we show 50, the top or the bottom 50. So now you're looking at 100 records in a table, and there's 2 pages you see because there's 125 rows or records that are returned, 100, and then the next page, the remaining 25. The previous page, the first 100. And so that's how the graph and the table work. Drill down, use the breadcrumbs, next and previous, no need to use the back on the browser. You simply work with the graph and with the table and with the controls on your screen. And so let's go to the top of the data set. And this would be the data for the date of 6/4/2013. We'll show the graph. Notice we're looking at a CPU queue graph. But on the bottom of the screen, you're not just looking at CPU-Q. There is a column there for CPU-Q, but those metrics on the bottom of the screen, those are the user experience metrics that we created under the user experience overview view. So for this table here, you're looking at a specific set of metrics on this table. We'll switch it over to the consumption metrics, the fit metrics. Here's some fit consumption metrics. And if you want to know more about the metrics in the top left of your screen, you simply click the light bulb. And the light bulb opens up a blue area here where you can read a description about the metrics that you're looking at. And notice there are a number of different tables, so you can choose these. Our metric groups is what they are. Let's look at the average consumption metrics and the total. These are average on the left, total on the right. Just go ahead and hover your column header, and you can see the description of each of the columns and what the metric is telling you. And on the left-hand side, you see averages here, and on the right-hand side, you see sums. So you know that because of the column header name, but you also know that because you're hovering the item and you're reading the description in the tooltip. This is a neat distinction here. The average value, important value, but without the sum, the average doesn't mean much, right? So it's always good to know the average and the sum, because an average could have happened for one brief moment in time, but by the sum, you know how long that average happened for. And as you see on the right-hand side, you've got the record counts and the length of the record, so you also know how long that average happened for. So I'm going to go ahead and drill down into the 4 o'clock hour. Let's go ahead and actually let's drill into the 4th, I should have said, of June. And you notice that you've got 21, 22, 21, 20, 19. You've got it listed by hour here. And you've got all the records that reported by hour. But let's add in the user column. Now what's going to happen is instead of looking at each hour in reverse chronological order there, you're going to see still each hour, but now the username has been added, so no longer is there just a 2200 record. There's a 2200 record for each user that was reporting in at the time. And now there's a 2100 record for each user that was reporting in at the time, because we now expanded out the data set and said, let's look at not all of those users for that hour, but break them out individually. Let's go ahead and add machines. And what if your users were roaming across a number of terminal servers and you were curious of the operating system service pack on each terminal server? So we can add machines and Windows version. So now you're going to see the date separated out by user and the machine name and the operating system version. So you could do your user experience or consumption reconnaissance and view your data individually versus as a combined total. And so notice we had 2 pages before, about 125 records. We now have 7 pages of data and 600 plus records. Same data set. Nothing has changed. It's the data that is on 6/4 of 2013. But we've added columns in here, and that's expanded the number of rows that you're getting because it's broken out this data individually. Let's search for something that actually is going to exist in this data set here, demo. And demo is part of the fully qualified domain names of some of these machines. So we should now see not 600 rows returned anymore. Here we've got 100 rows returned, and these are the rows that have demo in the machine name. And so that's how the date inspector works. You're looking at things by day, you're adding in different types of columns so that you can expand the data set out if you need to and view more granularly the data within your Stratusphere UX.